Money-B, welcome to the Murder Rap.
Thanks for having me.
You have a book coming out, A DU Party Don't Stop. I've read it. I'm about halfway through now. I'm going to finish it tonight. I just wanted everybody to know it's super well written, and it's loaded with behind-the-scenes stories, which is, I think, just great storytelling.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Shout out to my co-author, Chad Cohenson.
Yeah.
He made sure that it was written well. All I did was just blurt out the stories.
Right. No, it's really great. The vernacular and the language and everything, it's just really entertaining to read it. Yeah,
Thank you.
Great. Yeah. So I wanted to start with a quick biography note. Chapter 2 is called Raised by Panthers. Tell us a little bit about your unique upbringing.
Well, it was unique in two senses, in my opinion. One, I was raised in and around the Black Panther Party in the mid to late 70s. So I went to the Oakland Community School, which was the school started by Huey P. Newton and the Black Panther Party.
And who was he to the Black Panther Party, to people who don't know the history?
Huey P. Newton was one of the founders of the Black Panther Party, along with Bobby Seale. Started in 1966.
Wow.
And
why did they start their own school?
They started the school because they wanted to, from my, I was a student, right? It was never explained to me why they started it, but I'm going to assume that they wanted to educate the community the way that they thought that the community should be educated. Because in public schools, they don't teach you, they teach you what they want you to know. And we see that even more so today with them trying to eradicate some of the history of America and there's this narrative that they want to feed us now that is absolutely not the truth. We're old enough to know that that's not what happened. So let's go back to that. Maybe it was a foresight, maybe they saw. So I would just say me growing up or attending that school, I could say we were taught how to learn, meaning, they would teach us things, but questions and curiosity was always welcome. And we were allowed to question the information that we were given and to always feel free to question the information that we were given. So imagine that, being a young Black kid at that age being given a voice. And I think overall that's one of the things that it did give us. And even though Tupac didn't attend just that ideology of we should all have a voice, that's why Tupac was so outspoken, because from his mother he was raised to always feel free to question something that you don't understand or that you need to understand.
And I also love that you wrote that in school, you guys if you did something wrong, it was a jury of your peers decided. It wasn't adults punishing you. It was they would kind of have the kids decide. You had to kind of go before them and present your case. I did this thing. And, at home, the adults were in charge. But at school, it was much more like you guys were not treated as much as kids. You were treated as...
Yeah, it was treated as, I'm not going to say a democracy, but as a collective, it's always what's best for the collective. So if you did something, what do you think should happen? What's best for the situation of all?
Right.
Right? And so just even that, putting that power in the hands of the students we didn't realize it, but it was empowering, right? Yeah. And it wasn't as if we had the last word, right? They would just let us express ourselves.
Yeah.
But the law was still the law.
Of course. So did you, you brought up Tupac's background, his heritage with Black Panthers, obviously Black Panthers is very well established through his mother. Did you guys, when you got to know him, did you guys talk about that background? Even though he didn't go to a school like you did, he still grew up with that environment.
We did, Tupac would always talk about his mother. And that's what I remember a lot, when we first started getting to know each other. And at that time, he wasn't with his mother. His mother she was dealing with her own demons.
Right.
With the drugs and whatnot. But he was very open about that. He was open about his relationship. And what I gathered from it is he always, regardless of what was happening, he loved his mother, he admired his mother, but he admitted that she was going through trials and tribulations. Tupac and I always tell people, because our parents were in the Black Panther Party, it wasn't like we sat around and had meetings about what we were gonna do. Where the connection was is that we understood each other. Meaning, when he would do songs about certain things or he would say certain things, it was a message that I had already heard. Whereas some people were like taken aback or aghast at, what? And I'm like, no, I get it. So we understood each other. So that's where that connection really sort of, that's where you could see it. We didn't strategize or how we were gonna overthrow George Bush or whoever the dude was at the time. You know, we didn't have the connections.
But did he have that kind of militant streak still? I mean, that's...
No, he always had a militant mindset. That's what I'm saying. Like, his mindset was a mindset that I knew, whereas it was new to a lot. And that's sort of where we stood with that.
So that flows into the early days of Digital Underground. And Shock G originally wanted the Digital Underground to be a little more militant, more kind of issues-based. But there was already a Public Enemy out there. Is that kind of why can you give me the background of that switch or that shift as you know it?
Well, you know, back then, and it's crazy because you look at where hip hop is now, but back in the late 80s and even in the beginning, when labels were really starting to pay attention to hip hop, and where it was really, if you were in hip hop, you were about the culture, right? So the one thing that you had to have at that time was originality. So even if it was really you, if somebody came out and they made a mark being something, you couldn't be that. You couldn't copy. It was called biting. And that was the worst thing that you could be in our culture, as a biter. Right? So Shock originally, I don't think a lot of people know, but Shock was very socially conscious as well. You know, he cared about the community as well. And he just, you know, his heart of hearts, he was so kind. He really did want to help. And he just wanted to see the world get along. And he saw it as, you know, one nation under a groove, the mantra, right? He's a P-Funk All-Star, Sons of the P. So, that being said, he wanted to come out as this militant group and get his messages, get the messaging out. But Public Enemy comes out. And it's like, can't do that. So by the time we got together, you know, he told us that, right? But by the time we got together, he had already moved on because Public Enemy was already moving and grooving. But one thing that I think the commonality or something that, like, if you go back and look, the first thing that he wanted us to do as a group was to always be seen in black, which Public Enemy was always in black. So that carried over. And if you look at one of Shock's many alter egos is Rackadelic, which is his persona as the artist that he was. Shock did he did all of our cover art for our album covers and our single.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so he drew the Humpty Dance cover, Do What You Like, same song, This is an EP. He did all of anything that was animated or a graphic, drawn art, Shock did that.
Wow.
And so his persona as that artist was Rackadelic. And it was always this Pink Panther that had like this sort of Black Panther beret. So that was, I think, to me, that was his ode to what he originally wanted us to be.